Good evening, everyone. My name is Mazes. Okay, this is a late night Friday hangout coming to you from the Media TV. If you are joining me for the first time, if you see my face for the first time, I will say please, please, please like, share, and subscribe. Do not forget to like this podcast, right? Just like, let's get rolling. Today, we're going to be looking at something very, very interesting. We will be looking at how Reno Mockery was exposed, not by me, but by his own friend. If have you ever heard of an American known as Mike Arnold, who is a friend to Reno Mockery? So let's quickly do a deep dive into what we are going to be discussing today. So this evening, or this night, I would say as much as possible not to make this to get up to an hour, right? So in this deep dive, Reno Mockery was, who has been working for Buhari, for Tinubu, and he's trying as much as possible to endure himself to the heart of Tinubu. What did he do? He arranged, many believe, with Nuhu Ribadu to get some Americans pay their flight tickets, and those who he believed were influential to fly into Nigeria to visit the middle belt of Nigeria, where it is widely believed that genocide is happening, and to rewrite the story, to spin the narrative once more. Now, this evening, what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be taking you to Mike Arnold's Twitter page and let us go through what he said about Reno. After listening to him, after us going through what Mike Arnold talks about Reno Mockery, please you be the judge. If you think Reno Mockery is indeed a man to be listened to, because I'll have to show you that it is with consistent pattern that he's been doing this over many years. So let's get the ball rolling. Now, this is Mark Arnold's page here. This is his page where where the whole thing started. Like I said, he they flew into Nigeria. Mike has been doing some work trying to expose and basically show what has been happening within the middle belt. Again, let me not tell the story. Let me allow Mike's written words to say what he has to say about Reno. Here, I take you through this. Mike started by saying the truth about Reno Omokri is sad. I have seen it up close. Last year, on his birthday, that is on Reno's birthday, a birthday safari in Kenya, he stayed at my home in Texas. Most recently, he hosted me in Abuja. Obviously, for you to go and stay in somebody's house in Texas and for that person to also host you in his house in Abuja isn't, I mean, that's only what people who are close can do. And he continues, says, Reno doesn't lie like most liars. He lies calm, cool, constant, up close. He's repellent, chilling, soulless, yet charming. Imagine a man who every single day on planet Earth he must write a tweet about a man or a people. The whole narrative there is that the if he is able to consistently repeat these lies, that people will begin to believe and believe that this is true. Now this man is telling his story. Please follow me. He continues. Once he posted a video flaunting luxury cars, claiming they were his. Two of those cars belonged to a friend of mine Reno visited, rode in them, filmed them, and claimed ownership. a total fabrication of, a total fabrication. I stayed quiet then, but started watching closely. Now let's stop here. Let's go back to the car in question here. This is the car, right? Look at what Reno wrote in that car because the man put the car here. Reno wrote as follows: Obedient mocked my cars as cheap cars, so I added the price tag for each. Now, Reno, according to Mike, Mockery is claiming that this car in the picture is his. And Mike is saying, Jesus, he couldn't believe that this guy lied like this. A man who has no job but flies around the world. A man who criticized Tinubu. I knew I was in London when, on one of the days, I joined them to do the Buhari must go home protest. Reno made a live video from America, said he was flying into London and flew. That day, if you recall, he wore a brown winter jacket. A brown, the Germans will call it mantle, a very long mantle, and came to join the protest, right? A man who called Tinubu all sorts of names, drug lord, whatnot, suddenly goes to work for the same man that he has so far criticized, means he is a man not to believe. Let's go on. And here then, Mike continues. On my recent fact finding trip about Nigeria's persecution crisis, he promised meetings with Tinubu. That means Reno was promising Mike and his team that they are going to meet Tinubu, meet Ribadu, and Sultan of Sokoto. But none of those things happened because it appears the president wouldn't, aside the initial photo that he had with Mr. President, he may probably not bring him close, right? Those promises were props for his narrative, for clout, and for manipulation. Again, at his birthday last year, Reno, again, I mean, this is like a scammer. All these people scam with people's name. And he says he mentioned big names. So big names showed up expecting that Goodluck Jonathan was going to show up in his birthday because obviously has sold them that come to my birthday. If you fly into Nigeria for my birthday, Goodluck Jonathan is going to be there. It's going to be a relaxed atmosphere. You're going to have pictures with him. That is the Jonathan, the former president of the Federal Republic. Then Mike again says that was a lie. They left fast, dodging his shameless PR stunt. They thanked me for showing them the quickest escape route on a map. In Abuja, about 30 hours of travel, Reno pulled me into a photo op with the compromised Christian Association of Nigerian chairman. I barely got 60 seconds to change my shirt. He whispered, Don't mention you have arrived. Wait a minute. Somebody flew in from America. But Reno was telling me, do not say yet that you have arrived to Nigeria. What does that tell you? Is he trying to use that same individual who has arrived in Nigeria to milk and get someone to pay him? Is that what was trying to happen? I don't know, but you find out now. He says, don't mention that you have arrived. In the meeting, he implied he would be there longer. He took credit for trip I funded myself. So the guy, Mike, funded this trip, planned it, endured over 6 years of the job he's been doing within the Middle Belt, presenting it as part of fact-finding mission that he had organized. He repeated this with the next group. So everything in here, I'm going, I think he's trying to use these people, package them and sell them to Tinubu. Now, on live TV, he called me the current mayor of Blanco. Mike is saying, Nero, and you have to watch, you see the video. The video is so funny. Reno says, Mike Blanco, sorry, that Mike is, he referred to Mike as the mayor of Blanco in Texas. And Mike said, false. He knows it. He also said, I am Republican mayor. We don't even have a partisan municipal election. I haven't been active in any party for 30 years. He claimed I'm a personal friend of Ted Cruz. Also false. Ted Cruz, the American senator who is pushing for Nigeria to be enlisted where Christians are persecuted. Now, Mike went ahead to say, Ted Cruz is not my friend. I only shook his hand in a receiving line a decade ago. That's about 10 years ago. That's it. After that, where we were just greeting people, I shook his hand. That was it. Since then, I haven't met him. He introduced my travel companion as prominent Republican filmmaker. Not true again. Hey, oh lie, oh mockery. My friend does hobby projects, nothing major in decades. I don't know what party he favors. Again, this individual, these two people that came, the way they were addressed, false. Everything, that they were projected to be false. The man is now saying, why is someone selling me, or in Macbeth terms, he said, why do you address me in a borrowed robe? How do you know if Reno, oh mockery, is lying? Mike says, his lips are moving. This isn't bitterness, it's accountability. Now, trying to clarify, he's not doing this out of bitterness, but he wants to hold him accountable. And he continues, when someone denies genocide, twists truth, and poses as a Christian voice, character matters. The one who practiced deceit shall not dwell in my house. He who speaks lies shall not continue before my eyes. Psalm 101, verse 7. Reno, I don't hate you. He's now speaking directly to all mockery. But I can't cover you. Well, the pants are down. The half chemise has been removed. So what is left? I have seen too much. Lying to inflate yourself is one thing. Lying to cover up the Christian genocide raging in Nigeria is a bridge too far. People must know Reno O. Mockery as a pathological liar, habitual, calculating, self serving liar from someone who knows him personally. So they won't trust his sleaziness attempt to bury the blood of 10,000s of Nigerians matters with the manure spewing from his mouth. It's hard to fathom. I have never seen anything so stone cold evil. Now referring to Reno, oh mockery. If he doesn't repent, all mockery will go down as Nigerian Joseph Goebbels cast into the lake of eternal life. I hope you know who Joseph Goebbels is. He's the German, he's the Joseph Goebbels. Goebbels, actually, the Germans called their Herr Joseph Goebbels. He was the Hitler lying machine, basically. Joseph Goebbels was the Hitler lying machine at that point. Now, this gentleman is classifying Reno O. Mockery as the lying machine of the all progressive confidence. There is something somebody I can't. There was an acronym I had today that really cracked me up. I'm trying to remember it, but it was something that honestly I never thought of. The way the guy said APC, what they meant. Now he continues and says, "All mockery is gaslighting a nation. Why Christians and innocent Nigerians suffer. Reno O. Mockery has the blood of innocents on his lying tongue. He doesn't care what an ocean of matters blood to him, so long as he secures the phantom appointment Tinubu is dangling before him. Maybe that appointment, as many has said, that appointment is the ministerial the ambassadorial post promised to him. I am convinced he sees the victims as lesser human, a pure psychopath. Most Nigerians view him as a perpetual flip-flopping court jester. Well, I view him even more than that. I view him only as someone who is mocking himself. Hence his name as mockery. With his latest flip flop into the into the killing field, he is now more um, Stephen King's IT, an evil clown in the gutters, luring innocent people to their death. Now let us go to the cocoa of the matter. I see they're hot. Let me now serve you the real gist here. You now do not laugh. Fat, go and grab, because this is Friday Hangout. Go and grab something to drink, because this is going to at this point is going to be interesting. Grab yourself something to drink. Let's watch this video together. The video is the full press conference where first of all, sorry, the full press conference where first of all Mike referred at the beginning, said he was referred, or rather, as I said before, in Macbeth's word, he was addressed in a borrowed rope. A rope that he felt, that is not me. I'm playing this directly from Mark's page. Now let's look at Reno Mockery. Reno is going to be starting by saying, doing the introduction. Now pay attention to what Mike has written before. This happened this week actually. Pay attention to what Mike said in his tweet, that Reno addressed him as the mayor of Blanco. But some has also, I've read comments where people have also criticized Mike, saying, well, when he called you the mayor of Blanco, why didn't you interject at this point to say, well, I am not the mayor of Blanco in Texas, right? But nonetheless, he didn't do that here, maybe not to disgrace him on camera, but to go back and write tweet saying, everything you said about me is actually lying. Here is the truth. Let's get the ball rolling. So, Mockery will now tell us the lie he packaged here. These people flew in from the United States of America. Their job, these two individuals, their job is to come and whitewash what is happening now in Nigeria, to say there is no Christian killing, there is nothing like that, everything is fine. You know, um, you know, the citizens, the middle belt people are crying in vain. Just allow it. Muslims are being killed. Everybody is being killed. So it's no genocide. I mean, let's quickly just get to listen to this. Pay attention.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, and we have here.
Now, see the lie. As Mike said, the moment he starts lying, his lips start moving fast. We have here, and pay attention to the introduction he's going to do now.
Some Americans on a fact-finding mission, and I'll introduce them. This is Mayor Mike Arnold.
Mayor Mike Arnold. Arnold has said, I am not a mayor. Why do you call him Mayor Mike Arnold?
Republican elected mayor of the city of Blanco in Texas.
Republican elected.
And this is Jeff Gibbs, filmmaker, prominent filmmaker from the US.
Prominent filmmaker. Look at the young man sitting there. He might be confused. He might be thinking, oh, I am the filmmaker. Whoa, wow. I think I'm going to be moving from Hollywood to Nollywood here now.
And beside me, I have the Secretary General of Jamaatul Nasr al-Islam, and he's going to introduce himself. Sir, let's introduce him.
Well, good afternoon all.
Something interesting that is spiritual happened here. You see, the moment Reno finished this lie, Mike got out his paper, dusted it. On the internet, many people are saying that this is actually Mike dusting out the lie told by Reno.
My name is Professor Khalid Obokar. I'm the Secretary General of JNI National Headquarters, Nigeria.
You might be wondering why is Khan not here? We did meet with Khan. The fact finders met with Khan before they met with GNI, and that it was important to me, and they had a fruitful conversation. So if any of you have read Today's This Day
Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry about the break in transmission. I think we are back. Okay, let's continue.
Mike and Jeff Gibbs have been around this country. Now, the thing is, when all of this information about Christian genocide in Nigeria began, actually, the first mention of that started on September 26th. And I just reached out because the feeling back home is that it was an agenda against Nigeria, it was propaganda against Nigeria, it was to undermine Nigeria. But I just felt that the people who were saying these things, they meant well. And the reason why they were saying it is because they did not have the right information. And so before they came here, the fact finders actually briefed Senator Ted Cruz and Congressman Chip Roy. And when they go back, they will be taking the truth to the American policymakers. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand over the mic to Mayor Mike Arnold, who's going to address you on their findings so far. And after he speaks, Jeff will also speak, and then we'll take some questions. Thank you.
Now, at this point, because if Nigeria is classified as a country of interest, there is likely to be sanction coming towards Nigeria for what America has accused them of. Now, in that sense, the Reno or Mockery is now doing the yeoman's job, trying to suck himself to the government by bringing these people. Bear in mind, he paid their bills to fly into Nigeria. Now to say, okay, go into the field, gather this result, go back to America, tell them that nothing of sort is happening. Sadly, he paid for his downfall. He paid for the downfall of the government. He paid for these people now to come and say, when we came here, this is what we see. Now let's listen to Mike.
Thank you for being here. This is a very important time. I am curious. If you're a journalist or a reporter or media person, can you raise your hand just so I know who's? All right. Very good. Thank you so much. I do want to give you clarification on a couple things. I've been a little bit rushed. I'm Mayor Mike Arnold, like Good Luck Jonathan is President Good Luck Jonathan. I completed my term a few months ago. I'm not the current seated mayor of the city of Blanco. I just didn't want any misunderstanding there.
Okay, so he made that clarification. He's not an active mayor. The way Reno sold him at the beginning, it just the way he said he's as mayor as Goodluck Jonathan being president. Obviously, you know that Goodluck Jonathan is no longer president, so that's what he means. It's as mayor as Goodluck Jonathan being president.
I am not a personal friend of Ted Cruz. I met him once about 10 years ago when I at an event, and he was.
Yeah, man. At this point, I'll be thinking this guy should now sink himself because he has already introduced him as a personal friend to Ted Cruz. But he is standing, sitting in front of him saying, I have never, I only met Ted Cruz in passing once, just shook hands, and that's it. So do not classify me to be the personal friend of Ted Cruz because that's the things he has told, maybe Femi Bajabiamila, Nuhu Ribadu, Daniel Bwala, those close to the president, saying these people are going to wash our sins away. They think it's their own Oshomola that tells them that once you've joined the APC, that your sins are forgiven. But in this case, it is going to be a very long time before these sins are forgiven. You understand what I mean? At least if you don't know, like what Oshomola said.
Friend, and we have quite a number of other leaders who have come. Tony Ilwobe. Ilwobe means I don't do bad. And in fact, once you have joined APC, all your sins are forgiven.
So once you have joined the APC, all your sins are forgiven. But in this case, the sins, you hook, agree, come out. The sin, there is these shrubs on while we are growing up. If you wear those pants of 7 colors, you want to jump certain things, the shrub go hook you and undress you. And in this case, it appears that Mike Arnold has hooked Reno in the bad place and is now about to drag him.
Going down the line, and I shook his hand, so I know people in his office, but I'm not a personal friend. Also, and while I may tend to vote for Republican candidates, I haven't been involved in a political party in about 30 years. I'm really not a political person. In fact, the mayor's job for my town in Texas, like a lot of towns, is not a partisan position. Nobody knows what party. It's a small town.
Now, also debunked the fact that Reno lied and said, "Oh, he's a Republican, but partisan representative," and he said, "No, we are not partisan. Don't address me like that."
We fix roads and schedule parades and things like that. So just wanted to clarify those things. I'm not a politician. I have a family construction company that for my livelihood. I am not beholden to any political party here or there. I'm an independent voice, and I just wanted to make sure that that's established. I want to also state briefly why I'm here. People ask, why does this American come over here and say these things? My first trip to Nigeria, this is my 16th trip to Nigeria. My first was in 2010, and I was accompanied a fellow who became my papa, my mentor, Professor John Ofebu. He lived in the United States, but he was a very proud Nigerian. He loved this country. He gave his life for this country. And in fact, this will shock most Nigerians. He was offered U.S. citizenship on multiple occasions, and he always turned it down. I don't know any Nigerians that would do that. I don't know people that would kill for that, but to turn it down because he didn't want any split loyalties. He lived and he passed away about 11 years ago as a proud Nigerian. We crisscrossed this country over several years together, and I grew to love the country too, and the people, and have great hope for it. I consider this my second home. And before he passed, he prayerfully put his mantle on me. And I endeavored since then to be a good steward of that, to steward his legacy. He was the founder of the International Coalition of Reconcilers, Unity for Africa. He was a man of unity, a man of peace, who loved this country, and I love this country too. It's my second home. Speaking of home, I do want to say this. I would love to, I want to be here longer. I would love to meet everybody and talk and answer questions and all that. When we were preparing to depart to come here, I was notified my 4-year-old grandson Parker was rushed to the hospital. He'd been having an ailment, fever, trouble eating, and they did every kind of test imaginable for over a week, and they finally determined it was an advanced infection, and he was admitted to the hospital, and I am thankful that we were able to get return tickets. I need to be back there with my family. So we're leaving actually today, our flight leaves. And so my regrets, I'm just thankful that we were able to get this done. This is very important. One other thing, when I was invited on this, I sent a message that said, what is expected of me? And the answer was, message back, just tell the truth.
Did you hear that? What is expected of me? And the answer was, just tell the truth. So in the invitation, the whole point was, Mockery was believing that he would be influenced and teleguided to come out and tell his truth, not Mike's truth, but to tell what Reno in his mind has sold to the government and has conceived in his mind, and say, sell that to Nigerians. But hey, no, it didn't work.
And so that's what I'm here to do. It's not an easy thing. I told my host that probably lose some friends today. I know this is a very contentious and divisive issue, a lot of, on both sides. And I appreciate the freedom of the assignment, but it's a heavy weight. Truth, what is truth? It's an accurate an assertion of reality. It's an accurate picture of reality. That's what truth is. What is real? What is really there? That's what truth is. And truth is the only thing, ultimately, that's sustainable. It's the only thing that can bring us together. If one side or anybody has built anything or advanced anything that's not firmly on the truth, it simply can't last. And so I've been very careful. I've been very precise ever since I got invited. Pretty much full-time, late into the night. I've been researching, talking to experts, spent considerable time, retired U.S. ambassador friend of mine, a long-time international human rights attorney, journalists, and others, because the truth is important, and I can't say, nobody can say that what they're going to speak or present is 100% truth, but it's the very best I could do, and it's very well validated and backed up and supported, documented. And I can also guarantee this, it's going to, probably everybody on every side is going to be a little bit uncomfortable with what I say. I would ask you to bear with me to the conclusion, because that's what's important. There have been, I believe, misunderstandings, misconceptions, miscommunications, and agendas on every side of this. And I've attempted to throw those out the window and just focus on the facts. So if anybody's a little uncomfortable, just bear with me. I think it's going to be equally uncomfortable because that's what the truth is, right? I mean, it should be, but it should be a good sense of discomfort as we all hopefully get more grounded in the reality, in the truth. And I've typed up my remarks, and we got copies for the journalists. It's a formal statement on widespread violence and displacement in Nigeria. One of the contributors that's listed is U.S. Ambassador Louis Luck. Spent considerable time, and he's done a lot of work. He was an ambassador to Swaziland. He was also the #1 person in charge of rebuilding Iraq after the war, #1 guy in charge of rebuilding Haiti after the earthquake, and former board member of the World Food Program. So he has stature, and he's put his name on here. There are other experts that value their privacy in this day of social media, but if any journalist wants to dig deeper, I'd be happy to make personal connections with any of my sources. So you can, if you don't trust me, maybe you can do your own digging. That's what I encourage everybody to do. Don't ever take anybody's word for anything. Don't ever, specifically, if it's in the Nigerian newspapers, no offense to anybody, but there's oftentimes twists and turns there that don't line up with reality.
Yes.
Do your own homework, do your own research, search your own soul, and always seek the truth, because that's what's sustainable and that's what always wins. The truth always wins. I'm going to start.
I think, Mike, enough preamble done, so get into the meat of the matter. But before he does, please, if you haven't subscribed to this platform, I beg you, please like, share, and subscribe. Just let's watch these, and it's getting interesting as we move.
I'm just going to read it because it is important. Like I said, it's verbatim in the document that will be distributed. It's also posted up, will be posted online, so anybody can read this. But I'm going to read.
And by the way, before Mike continues to read, if you want to join the conversation, if you have any opinion as to the exposition of Mockery, or if you have any view on the unaliving of people in the Middle Belt, if you are from the Middle Belt and you want to speak, if you have experience, in the comment section you will see the link to join. Before we end this, you can actually join us. Thank you.
Because I don't want to make any mistakes. I don't want to deviate. Purpose and credentials. My name is Mike Arnold. I recently served as the elected mayor of the city of Blanco, Texas. I first visited Nigeria in 2010 as a board member of Unity for Africa. Since then, I've made 15 trips to Nigeria, including 6 extended investigative missions since 2019. I founded Africa Rise and International and Africa Rise USA 2019, along with my covenant brother, Pastor Jed DeGrace. I have frequently been quoted in top newspapers and TV news broadcasts here, and a couple viral videos too. I've never extracted anything from Nigeria. I've never taken anything home but souvenirs and small gifts. My closest and most trusted friends are native Nigerians. I come only to give, serve, and stand with the people and nation I dearly love as my second home. I was personally invited here today by Reno Mockery, and I got a call last Sunday morning, unexpected, from Reno Mockery. He was on the line with the National Security Advisor. Invited me to on this fact-finding trip and to come give a report. The sole stated written charge given to me for this trip is simply to meet certain key people.
Hold on, did you hear that? Suddenly, Reno called in. On the other line was Nehu Ribadu, the NSA. Because at this point, recall that the President of the Federal Republic 2 weeks ago in Owerri said to the world, Christians are not being killed in Nigeria, right? And in a bid for them to, in their mind, what they think could help the government come out of the quagmire and what they found themselves in, is to place this call and let these individuals fly into Nigeria, come and do teleguided tour for them to issue what they considered, in their opinion, as of that time, that they were going to influence the outcome of the perception of the American government.
Then declare the truth. I know what's at stake and take this very seriously. While my plane ticket and accommodations have been paid for, I have not asked for, been offered, nor received any compensation.
You see, my plane ticket and accommodation has been paid for. He didn't ask for them to be paid, but they paid and he accepted it. And he did not ask for any compensation like, okay, pay me 10, 20, 15, 30, 40, $100,000. He didn't ask for that. And he came. He's already said it. 16 times of being in Nigeria, accepting Nigeria as a second home.
Or promise of compensation for this, and no duress either. I've been given freedom. I'm not connected in any way or compensated by the US government. And I don't advocate any policy. I'm not reporting for them, I'm not speaking for them, and I'm not advocating any policy. That's not my role here. I'm here independently, and this statement is made without coercion or inducement of any kind. I also note that numerous top US officials have been briefed and are personally aware of my being here, the purpose of my trip, and my specific itinerary and expected return date. At their request, I'm providing updates as to my status. These include, but are not limited to, Senator from the state of Texas, my state, Ted Cruz, and Congressman Chip Roy, the White House, US State Department and acting ambassador, as well as a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist from the New York Times and their international editor. So a lot of people are waiting for this. Also note that as I present this statement, it is being simultaneously distributed not only to these people who are awaiting it, but also posted online for all to access. This statement is my formal account and analysis of facts, findings, and firsthand documentation of widespread claims of widespread violence, displacement, and atrocity crimes in Nigeria, primarily directed against Christian populations in the North and Middle Belt claims, and whether this rises to the level of genocide. Let me just pause there. This is heavy. This is serious. It's not something to play word games with.
Exactly. At this point, if we go by the definition of genocide, in this case, what the whole point is, according to him, is to say, is the killing that is actually happening in Middle Belt, does it qualify to be classified as genocide? Hence, he said that this is heavy, meaning everybody acknowledges that there is killing. But the question is, if that killing is qualified to be tagged genocide. Let's find out.
It's addressed to journalists, international observers, human rights bodies, and policymakers in the United States and abroad. We have traveled to cities, villages, and remote encampments from Bokos, Jos, and Gwoza to Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Bakuma, Makoko. Been all over in these last 6 years. I've interviewed governors, cabinet ministers, traditional rulers, 2 former presidents of high standing, and others. I have met orphans whose parents were hacked to death. I've helped them. I've built schools in internally displaced persons, IDP camps, and documented over 80 hours of filmed testimony and evidence at great personal risk, soon to be released on our documentary film, Me and Miss Hantu. My findings carry the weight of direct personal experience. Nigeria in 2010, a nation at peace. In 2010, Nigeria was a beacon of rising prosperity and religious tolerance, often cited as the only country where radical Islam was being pushed back. Attacks were rare and sparked national outrage. Recognized IDPs were effectively zero, with only minimal displacement from localized communal conflicts. A stark contrast to the crisis that followed, marked by a 1,200% surge in IDPs the very next year, 2011, due to Boko Haram's escalation. The prior absence of displacement crisis is both verifiable and damning, because today there's not an accurate count, because I know we have schools and camps that the governments of the world, including Nigerian government, deny exist. So the quoted 3 to 4 million internally displaced people is clearly low, and I've heard numbers as many as, in fact, the first time we talked, you said 9 million. What has changed since then? By 2014, Nigeria's stability was shattered. Foreign meddling, including US involvement, played a pivotal role in the 2015 election, enabling regime change that emboldened actors who ignored or enabled extremist violence. High-placed eyewitness testimony confirms this interference, with firms like Cambridge Analytica further skewing the political landscape. Radical jihadist elements fueled by foreign fighters from Libya and Sahel, post-2011 Arab Spring, many who say were invited, not invaded at that stage, flooded into Nigeria, amplifying Boko Haram and ISWAP. Today, over 4 million Nigerians are displaced, a very conservative estimate. That's based on, in part on my work in hidden camps, and officials who label these IDPs officially as criminals or vagrants. I'm going to pause there for 1 second to make this point, because it's very clear that Nigerians understand this. We did a groundbreaking for a school at an IDP camp 2 years ago, and several journalists came and wrote articles about it. And my remarks were, and the whole purpose of this, what we do is we build camps and schools and IDP camps, and that was the whole purpose of this. The news report said that we build schools in rural communities. Took out the whole idea of IDPs. If reality, if truth is the only way for unity, and truth is the only thing sustainable, the Nigerian media, at least the ones in my experience, I don't know where they get off changing my words to sterilize it. But if you work for a paper and you're guilty of that, you're not a journalist, you're a propagandist, and it's for shame.
Exactly. In Nigeria, we call that embellishment, or in the words of some senators, they would tell you it's deodorizing, right? So you are perfuming the smelling stuff. So schools were built for IDPs, and they say the schools were built for a rural area. That's really two different things.
Your job is to speak the truth. Nigeria cannot heal, it cannot advance, it cannot succeed if the people of this country rely on your words to understand the truth and you're lying to them. Sorry, we got a little bit off track, but that's reality, okay? This is too important. Don't change my words. The vast majority of the IDPs are Christians, driven from their homes by deliberate political engineering and radical conquest, while mostly Muslim IDP camps do exist. One of our schools serves an entirely Muslim population.
Okay, now here is where some of you might start getting offended. In his words, the killing of Christians in Nigeria and the living of Christians in IDP is real. However, he also identifies that there are areas where Muslims also live. Now, if we go to the definition of genocide, the question will be the term genocide can be, in the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in 1948, I believe. It says that the following act committed with intent to destroy, because why I say this is because in 2006 that formed part of my research papers. Now, there are two things that are, three things that are very critical. Killing members of a group, causing serious bodily harm or mental harm to members of a group deliberately on the group, on the conditions of, life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. Hence, the the Nazi way of the industrial scale of trying to eliminate the Jews we are qualified to be. However, the school of thought, many people have also questioned. If you look at the Hiroshima and Nagasaki, well, if that also qualified as genocide, and people have asked, well, if that is the case, what King Leopold did in the Congo, what is that? Isn't that also genocide? However, if you now come to some parts that want to define genocide and also questions the imposing measures that intended to prevent birth within a group, but whether this is happening in that area now is questionable because one cannot see, according to them, there is no systematic um, exposition on that. However, when you take people out of their home, some then have argued, taking somebody, invading a community to the point that people now move, go into a place, have stayed there since 2015, 16, 17, and have not been able to go back. If the government is unable to make these people go back, school of thoughts are now questioning, doesn't the inability of the government to rehouse and bring those who have left their places of succor back to their homeland, isn't that a qualification for such? Again, that's an intellectual conversation.
Several hundred children. Our team's fieldwork. Since 2019, our team has conducted relentless frontline research at great personal risk. We've interviewed survivors across multiple states. We've operated schools in 2 IDP camps for both Christians and Muslims, with a third under construction, with a present total of 550 students. We provide free, high-quality education, and we get to hear their stories and their parents' stories. Firsthand eyewitnesses. We filmed camps the UN and Nigerian government deny exist. I could take you to them.
Did you hear that? They have filmed places where the Nigerian government said it's a lie. These people are not in IDP. Man, government is evil. Government, especially the Nigerian government, evil. Denying that your citizens are not in IDP. I mean, if they stick it on you that you are systematically trying to do away with these people, well, even if you don't, even if it's not your intention, but your inability to get a grip on it and get your hands on it, that makes you culpable.
We recorded numerous IDP testimonials. We have a YouTube channel, My Voice Matters, with first-hand eyewitness testimonials. In late 2024, my team visited and filmed in Goshe, in Gwoza, LGA, Borno State, a once thriving Christian farming community, now a post-apocalyptic wasteland. Recent 2025 attacks confirm ongoing devastation, with surviving Christians combined to militarized zones where leaving risks abduction or execution. Another aside, I wasn't, of course, able to go there, but the team that did connected with a small group there that have a small church that's in the protected zone. And it was not long afterwards we got sent roundabout a Boko Haram video with members of this church having their heads cut off with dull axes. Okay? Those were our friends. Our first-hand proof exposes a reality ignored by officials. Many people of Gwoza have been refugees in Cameroon for over a decade, abandoned by Nigeria, while those who return languish in the FCT, their homelands occupied by Boko Haram as the seat of its caliphate for years now. Consistent pattern of destruction. Across regions and years, we've documented a chilling pattern. Churches destroyed. In Gwoza, when they came in Ngoshe, all 6 churches were burned, no mosques were burned. Christian homes torched, jihadists resettled in captured lands. Authorities deny or excuse the attacks. While some Muslims resisting extremism are targeted, absolutely. The peaceful Muslims are targeted. The overwhelming evidence, thousands of churches raised, obviously selective violence, leads some to claim this is a faith-based genocide against Christians and those rejecting radical Islam. That's what some claim. What drives this violence? This has come from the highest level and the deepest research. And there's 3 primary drivers. It's not chaos, but it's calculated. One, radical, I think we all would refute and repudiate, but radical Islamic conquest. Armed groups, bolstered by foreign fighters from Libya, Sahel, post-Arab Spring, seek to impose extremist ideology with local enablers and political protection described by eyewitnesses as jihad by occupation. Blood mineral extraction. A former president is the one that pointed me in this direction. Nigeria, according to the government's estimates, which in my humble opinion are probably way low, Nigeria loses $9 billion annually to illicit mining of gold, tin, and lithium. Oftentimes these communities that are wiped out, you go back not long after and there's mounds of dirt from the strip mining. $9 billion a year. And again, the government's estimates, with a significant portion estimated to be 10% funding violence and corruption. That's $900 million a year, at least, that's funding the violence and corruption that does this. That needs to be investigated. Heavy machinery and foreign buyers appear days after displacements, exploiting lands of the displaced. Politically realigned.
Did you just hear that? People, did you just hear that? 1, they attack, clear a place, heavy machineries, big equipment. No, okay, maybe you missed it. Let me play that back again so that you understand this.
That needs to be investigated. Heavy machinery and foreign buyers appear days after displacements, exploiting lands of the displaced.
When land is being displaced, heavy machineries appear, foreign individuals appear, and they start excavating stuff. You know, I look at the flatlands of Benue, I look at some areas in Plateau, and I say the manner and surgical nature by which these actions happen. Guys, Nigeria is not serious. If Nigeria is serious, we should look into who are those behind these taking over of these places and mining it. Now, as some people will say, the government is aware. And because government is aware and is unable to tackle what is happening to Nigeria, and hence everyone is saying that government is culpable in what is considered the genocide against Christians in Nigeria. If the government is not culpable, let the government prove Nigerians wrong.
Politically realignment, war in some cases, and again, let me say this, I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not saying just because an official here does it that it's an indictment of the entire government. But war often masquerades as politics. Local government areas overrun, electoral districts redrawn by force, militants resettled, and each given 4 abducted wives to skew demographics, dismantling communities deemed inconvenient. This is fully documented. It shouldn't be debated. I'm just going to go where the facts led me. There's a euphemism of farmer-herder clashes. Yes, those have happened for generations. The term farmer-herder clashes is, in many instances today, is cynical doublespeak, weaponizing historical land disputes to mask jihadist conquest. For centuries, herders and farmers coexisted with very rarely lethal disputes. Now, villages are systematically razed, churches leveled, and tens of thousands are dead. This is a systematic terror and not grazing conflicts. A lie akin to calling Bosnia's ethnic cleansing a neighborhood spat. These targeted deadly attacks are the same whether labeled herders, bandits, or insurgents. The puppets may change, but the same forces pull the strings. A jihadi by any other name is just as deadly. Mincing words over labels appears to be intentional obfuscation. Now, at what level the people just say, that's what I was told, that's what was reported, and honest people can repeat things that are not true. Again, not indicting anybody, but in many of these instances, I would, if you're told it's a farmer-herder clash, I would compel you to dig deeper. While global attention often focuses on Boko Haram and ISWAP, the majority of killings and displacements across the Middle Belt are in fact carried out by radical Islamist Fulani ethnic militia. Numerous field reports, satellite imagery, survivor testimonies confirm that these militant groups, often operating under political protection and mislabeled as herders, are responsible for the most widespread, systematic, and sustained attacks on Christian farming communities. Their campaigns extend well beyond traditional grazing disputes, encompassing organized massacres, forced displacement, and the strategic occupation of conquered lands. Today, these militias represent the single most lethal terrorist threat in Nigeria's internal stability, surpassing Boko Haram and ISWAP combined in reach, frequency, and civilian death toll. The crime of obfuscation. I have personally seen ongoing efforts by officials and their loyal media to bury the truth, sanitizing massacres as conflict, labeling displaced survivors, vagrants, and criminals, refusing to name perpetrators. This is not confusion, it is complicity. To play semantic games while people die is beyond obscene. There can be no solution while leaders play word games to hide the truth. And again, I'm not saying that everybody that repeats these things are doing it intentionally whatsoever, but at some level, there is a lot of manipulation taking place to hide the truth. So let's get to the conclusion, because this is where it's important, because there is a legal definition of genocide.
As I tried to highlight before, in terms of whether what is happening in Nigeria qualifies for genocide, what is the legal definition? What angles does that come in with? And let's then get this last part. Then we'll go back and see what Mockery wrote before he started dancing naked in the band of the APC gang.
That's the question here, and it's not a vague thing. You don't want it. You don't want it to be or not to be. And I did not start with my conclusion. I started with the evidence. Per Article 2 of the UN Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in 1948, genocide includes acts committed with intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. It includes killing members of the group, causing seriously bodily or mental harm, inflicting conditions to bring about physical destruction, preventing births within the group, forcibly transferring children to another group. This is the legal, international, understanding definition of genocide. The evidence is undeniable: targeted killings, mass displacement, destruction of homes and churches, denial of aid, and erasure of Christian identity. My conclusion, my formal findings: an objective expert and eyewitness, a longtime lover and traveler throughout Nigeria with access at the highest levels, based on more than 5 years of investigation, field interviews, first-hand documentation, and deep consultation with top scholars, statesmen, and legal experts, and I'm happy to introduce you to all of that. And this document has more than 15 citations. I declare this without any shadow of a doubt. The campaign of violence and displacement in northern and middle belt Nigeria does indeed constitute a calculated, current, and long-running genocide against Christian communities and other religious minorities without any reasonable doubt. To continue to deny this is to be complicit with these atrocities. I say this not in anger, but in truth and grief. My stated assignment from my host was to speak the truth, and I have done that to the best of my ability. I believe Nigeria has a bright future. I believe in Christian-Muslim harmony. I believe good people of every tribe and faith and party must stand against this evil, but first we must name it. Here I stand. I can do no other. So help me God.
Okay, so you've seen how the lying machine was exposed. Now let's quickly look at some of the things he wrote before now. You can see in 2014, Reno was accused of, being, that's a Sahara reporters. I don't want to go into that. That's outside the realm. Mockery lies against Osibanjo. Everyone. It's all about, trying to do the same thing all the time, right? Let's go back again and see what he um, in 2017. Reno wrote, "Their voice is so loud, condemning injustice against Muslims in the US, yet very silent in condemning genocide of Christians in Nigeria." Written by Reno himself. Nobody forced him to use the word genocide. "I am in mourning for the 1,200 Christians killed by radical Islamist terrorists in Nigeria this year alone. These misguided Christians were killing Muslims. Sorry, if misguided Christians were killing Muslims, I doubt that you would be able to focus on Europe football. Europe has peace. What does Nigeria have?" So again, during Buhari, he was asking these questions. Suddenly, the same person seeking for truth is the same person now going around to cover findings. Even the man at the helm of affairs at some point had the following to say: "The slaughtering of Christian worshippers is strongly condemnable. It calls for question it calls to question the competence of Jonathan to protect Nigerians." Now, remove Jonathan and put here. It calls to question the competence of Bola Tinubu to protect Nigerians. Do you have that confidence that Bola Ahmed Tinubu is protecting you? Right? Because when we look at this is, sometimes that it's someone who has, someone who seek to really make money out of government. At some point, he just flip flops, and in that flip flopping, he will be lying and keep lying in order to stay relevant. Here and finally, here, Reno Mockery wrote, "Even Buhari's Osibanjo cannot say extremist Muslims aren't killing Nigeria." He was mocking the former president of the republic, that is Professor Yemi Osibanjo, saying that he, Professor Osibanjo, is also aware that Christians are being killed in Nigeria. People, is a net light. It's now after 12, almost 12:30 from this part of the world. On this note, I will say thank you very much for being my guest. Think about it. Reno Omokre. Thank you, Mike Arnold, for exposing what many of us already knew, but at least you expose not only the antics to make you write and say things that are not right, two, to induce, and finally, to change narrative. In this case, he didn't see that coming where you're coming from, and you ended up removing what he thought he has already gained. Reno. repent, and they shall be well with you. On this note, I say thank you very much for joining me this late morning. It's now 12:30. Please like, share, subscribe to Ninja Media TV if you haven't done so. I am your host, Maze. It's okay. Good night and peace.
Ah, la, la, la.